Today we worked through an assessment for mean, median, and mode. It came from Leaps and Bounds. There were some questions that were obviously a lot harder than others. There were some questions that caused a lot of thinking. There were some questions that took a lot of trial and error. Raise your hand if you were able to persevere, which means that you kept working and working and working at it until you came up with an answer.
So practically everyone.
And Mark, what can you notice about this?
Everyone did.
Yes. It was neat to see that even though it was hard, and even though it was a bit of a struggle, we persevered. Who can tell me something that they learned today about mean, median, and mode, or even about one of the questions related to mean, median, and mode? Ali, what did you learn?
I learned that when you have and there's no number in the middle for median.
Yes.
And it's all odd numbers, so not one in the middle.
Yeah.
You have to take the two in the middle that are together, and you have to add them.
Yeah.
And then divide them by the one by two.
Okay, so if you're taking two numbers and adding them and dividing them by 2, what are you figuring out for that median? Like, to figure out the median, what are you actually calculating? We add something up and then divide. What are we calculating?
Calculating the numbers that are actually there in the middle.
Right, but what is that called when we add the two numbers up and then divide by 2? So we add the numbers and then divide. So we're actually figuring out the mean of the median.
You know what? I never thought of that.
And
And I learned that it hurts your head, which goes to your belly, and then hurts your belly, and then hurts your head, which makes you confused, which hurts your head.
But you were able to figure it out. Ali, were you able to figure it out?
Yes.
Okay. Who figured out something else that they didn't know before? Something a little bit different. Claire, what did you figure out?
I figured out how to answer one of those questions.
Okay.
Where they gave you 6 numbers and the number 8.
Okay.
That you draw a line, then you draw the division sign, and 6, because that's how many numbers there were. And it has to equal 8, because that's the mean. And then you have to write down the 6 lines.
Okay.
And then you have to figure out what is that. You have to add the mean as many times as the data set goes. And then you have to find that answer, put it in the first one. And then you have to go up to the lines, and you have to fill them in with numbers that are equivalent to the mean added up 6 times.
So how did people figure out then? Because you did it a little bit differently than Claire. What did you do, Mariah? How did you figure out for that one divided with the 48? Or not 48, with the 6?
I multiplied.
Yes.
I multiplied how much it has. So I multiplied 8, which it has to be multiplied by 6.
Yes.
Equals, and then it showed me the answer what all my numbers is, and then my answer divided by 6 gave me 8.
Right. Why did you choose to multiply? Like, you used more of like a guess and check kind of method, right? To figure out what your...
In the beginning, but then I stopped it because then I found the strategy.
Okay. So why did you choose multiplication to figure out what the answer is?
Because division is the opposite multiplication.
So you figured out the opposite to get the final answer. Anybody else figure out something today? Faisal, what did you figure out?
For the last question, number 7.
Yes.
I figured out that you can do it.
Yes.
All you need to do is make the other 2 numbers really, really, really high.
Okay. And why would you need to make those numbers really, really high?
Because let's say you just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And then the answer would be 15. Then you divide that by 5. Then you would only get 3, not 100. So you would have to get the other 2 really high numbers.
So how did you figure that out? What did you choose to do?
Well, I couldn't really figure it out, so all I put was like just choose really high numbers.
Okay, so, but how did you know that really high numbers would work?
Because it said that 3 of the numbers
Yeah.
are 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah,
and you have to figure out the other 2 numbers.
okay.
So I tried doing 4 and 5, but then that didn't work.
Okay,
So I had to see that something had to equal 100, but I didn't figure it out.
okay, but why did you know that really high numbers would work? Why does it make sense in that case that really high numbers would work?
Because you need to add the 1, 2, and 3 are low numbers. Then you
Yeah.
add it with the high numbers, so you can get like a high number, and then divide it by 5 to get 100.
Okay, thank you. Can anybody else share something that they learned today? Anything? Jenna, you want to go first?
For the question after the question after this, get 6 numbers and make them
Yeah.
and make them mean 8.
Yeah.
Question after was to do it with the number 10
Yes.
instead of 8, and so I saw that if we just got the number that we added up
Yeah.
and then basically added for me I got 48. I added it up to 48,
Yeah.
and then so I just had to add 12 to get up to 60, because 6 times 10 is 60.
Yes.
And I also used the same method as Mariah,
Okay. And why did you use that method?
because I was thinking same reason as Mariah, actually,
Okay. Which was what?
which was because the multiplication is the opposite of division and the numbers are all the same.
Okay.